on YouTube. And Sportscaster is coming in. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is currently 6:56 p.m. East Coast time. It is Sunday, March 22nd. And I'm going to just be taking a look at the 3-game LPL, the China League for the League of Legends tonight. Just doing more of a live stream Q&A. We can go through each position, talk about some things for a half hour or so. This will be kind of like the uploaded video version. Projections are already uploaded over on Patreon if you're tuning in after the fact, which many people probably will. This slate starts at 2 a.m. East Coast time, very standard for what's happening in terms of China for their prime time type of locks. So we've been getting that every single day, China Leagues, which is good because you're going to see the LEC take some days off now for the midweek. You're going to see the American League after today take some days off, get going towards the mid to end of the week. Sal, have you played League of Legends before? No, I have not specifically played this game before, and I personally have no intentions of playing the game before, similar to any other sport. I've never played football before, and I could damn well do fine at covering football. Basketball I haven't played since the 7th grade. I'm pretty sure I could do okay in terms of DFS. So, no, I've never played League of Legends. I tuned into some of the streams. Honestly, I have no interest in watching the streams, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. This is a sport that is very projection-based. It is easily projectable, and it is also very stack, correlated game theory, things like that. So you see correlation, you see projections. It's very rare that you find that, something that is projectable with also really strong correlation. You found it here, and that just makes for a recipe of if you know how to build lineups using those things, you're going to have a ton of upside. So I'm probably just going to try and keep this open to questions. The red players on my screen, you can see they are just kind of glossed out in red. What that's just to indicate is that the starting lineups are already out, which is really nice with the China League. The starting lineups already are out, so what you're getting there, open this up. So what you're ending up getting there is just like way earlier, like 12 hours before lock, you get the lineup. So that's good to have all that news. So the players that you're not seeing in red are going to be the starters already for today. So that's good. When you just look at top players, I mean, you have Invictus Gaming, who has been, without question, probably the just most consistent team in the China League. Obviously, depending on the matchups, you're going to see some different favorites. So Invictus Gaming coming in as the second highest team favorite, minus 345, 80% win rate. So going to have interest there, of course. Again, these stats will be updated on a weekly basis. So some of the stuff that's happened over the past couple of days, not totally in here yet, but you have a decent enough sample, especially from last year, that it shouldn't skew it too much. When you look at somebody in terms of what you're seeing from top esports, 556 favorite. Obviously, you're going to have a ton of upside there. Obviously, you're going to get the 3 rounds. So if you've been playing LEC in the American League today and have not yet played China because the start times are wild, then now you're going to because there's nothing else tomorrow or tonight, depending on where you are in the world. It is a situation where, yeah, I think that there's actually a decent amount of upside in terms of you have 2 really clear favorites, and then obviously you have one team that is a 217 favorite. So 3 huge favorites relative to just any other sport. 217 favorite is huge in any other sport. You're getting 3 huge favorites. The China League, I've been pretty much sticking to the favorites unless you see some slight odds. You don't really have that right now. Played support from Liquid as captain today. Thanks for the advice. No problem, man. Hopefully it worked out. Hopefully it's worked out overall for you in your lineups. Yeah, it's been pretty cool. A lot of the I got kind of criticized by saying that supports are more than viable in the captain spot if you're playing GPPs nowadays because of the pricing for what you're seeing in League of Legends. Obviously, the optimal would be to have your AD carry in there or your mid laner, probably your AD carry if you're on the winning team, getting the most points, but it's also going to cost you the most money, and you're probably not going to be able to build an optimal lineup after that, so you can still get an AD carry not in the captain spot if you get the support players who end up maybe going for, depending on the league that you're in, a 70-plus point day. You have the Shy for Invictus Gaming that's averaging 82 points per contest, even more in the wins. So obviously a lot of upside there. The Shy is without a doubt the best AD carry or the best top player on the Slate top laner. You get 3.9 average kills per contest, 7.6 assists. Nobody's really close to that. So yeah, out of all these starters, especially when you factor in the favorites. So yes, the Shy is going to stand out as a really strong play. 6,800. I'm not against having a captain with the Shy. The Shy actually took down a tournament, I believe, a week ago in the captain spot. So somebody who will go lower owned in the captain spot. Not as low owned as you would like. I'd expect still double-digit ownership in the captain spot, maybe around 10, 11%, but still looks fine. 369, the biggest favorite on the slate, just doesn't contribute as much. So even when victories are happening, you're just not getting a lot of contribution. Only 2.67 kills per contest, only 4.6 assists. Those are very average to below average numbers for this slate. So what I'm going with there is probably going to pass over that. In terms of my projections, which again, they're on Patreon if you want to check them out, DraftKings is going to have a going to have a 2 millionaire one sports back. I don't know what that means. What's up, Dan? TSM upset by IMT today. On Patreon, you going into matchup stats and game history. I don't know what that means. What do you mean by that, Ty? Matchup stats and game history. Patreon has the data sheets with the projections. That's what I'm looking at right now. My projections over on Patreon. On Patreon, are you going into matchup stats and game history? Matchup stats in terms of just lane control, Baron control, all that stuff. I mean, you could weight that all you want. If you wanted to look at it and it makes you feel better about picking a specific player, that's fine. But at the end of the day, it's weighted into all the projections. So like every single stat, every single thing that can be analyzed and looked at is weighted into the projections. If one team upsets a team, it happens, I don't know, in each league, there's probably a major upset, like maybe once a week. And that's a lot because China plays every single day. Winner gets 2 million out there, 1 million to first. Nah, I doubt they do that. Chase Calm says, my boy, what's going on, man? How you doing? Yeah, so in terms of top laners, I mean, the Shy is going to stand out pretty head and shoulders above the rest. Obviously, the other two favorites are going to be where I end up going with Adidai 369. That's probably where I get to the most, the only ones that I really have interest in as of right now. Head over to mid laners. What game are you talking about? League of Legends. League of Legends, that you're probably going to get these 50K to first prize pools pretty consistently, especially for the American slates once the weekends come back around next weekend. But yeah, League of Legends has been great. 21% for a week straight now. Well, average return of 21% over 7 days since playing. It seems very straightforward right now, looking at the app, in the winning right now with a lot of players left. So hopefully that goes well. But yeah, it's the premier sport on DraftKings right now. So what's going on, Barry? How you doing? So yeah, League of Legends, and if you're watching on the replay, we're doing this live. It's just more time effective for me to get one of these out later in the day. The only League of Legends that is going to be tomorrow, and really the next 2 days, I believe, is going to be the China League, so really late locks, but you're going to just get only 3 slates, only 3 game slates for the most part. I believe Tuesday might be a 2-game slate, if I'm remembering that correctly. So again, I'll have the videos for those as they come through. I feel the Chinese League is easier to project. If you lose the first game, the better team usually wins the next 2. Yeah, I mean, the China League, in general, there's just not a lot of parity in these leagues. Like, maybe you get one small favorite, or one small favorite losing, or one small on the opposite side of that underdog winning. But for the most part, you're just going to just get complete annihilation. Like, Cloud9 was a minus 1,000 favorite today. You don't see that in anything outside of, like, just lower stakes, like MMA fights where guys are just completely just going out there to just destroy somebody, maybe throwing a fight. I don't know. But just, you never see a minus 1,000 favorite in any competitive league. And you saw that today. You have a minus 560 favorite on this slate for the 2 a.m. spot. So, yeah, the Chinese leagues don't have a lot of parity at all. Like, I believe since I've been playing for the past week, there's been like 1 upset, 2 upsets, or like major upsets I'm talking about. I think it was just 1. So, obviously, on the smaller slates, if you can nail that one, you're going to do great. But if you keep trying to dart for that one, you're never going to hit it, and you're going to spend a ton of money. Just playing the favorites is basically the worst thing you can do in a GPP. It depends on the slate. If you're playing the Chinese league, I don't think that that's the case, because a lot of the times you're just going to get like these plus 300 underdogs, and they're rarely going to pay off for you. Just playing the favorites on 5-game slates, I think, is okay. You're obviously also going to have smaller underdogs, so I think that's completely fine to do. It depends on how you're stacking. If you're going 4-2-1 stacks, yeah, you can get different and go with a smaller 2-stack or a 1-stack of an underdog, because you're just taking on less risk, because an underdog can still, a support underdog player can still go for a decent amount of points, enough that it doesn't bury you in your lineups, probably doesn't make you win a tournament if they're on the losing team. But you can still get those into your lineups. You need low-owned stacks, contrarian stacks. Yeah, I mean, I've been tracking it for the past week while I've been playing, and I tracked before that. There's a lot of contrarian stacks, even if you do roster 2 favorites. I mean, just avoid the top 2 favorites on a 5-game slate, and you're automatically going to have pretty unique lineups relative for the amount of players you could choose from those other 3 smaller favorites or mid-sized favorites. So, yeah, you can build some pretty contrarian lineups. You're never going to just... The idea of... And this is the problem with League of Legends, if anything, outside of the payout structures, which are a big problem. The idea that you shouldn't play optimal because you're going to create dupes is really difficult for a lot of people to process right now, including myself early on, and trying to see what to do with that. You're going to have duplicated lineups if you play optimal in this. If you don't play optimal in this, you're probably not going to win. So that's the challenging part. It just might be not a solved game at this point, especially with a more influx of players just having no idea what it is and kind of in the early stages. But if more pros come into this space in the next 1 to 2 months, it's just going to be absolutely probably as close to a game GPP-wise being solved as possible. And then it becomes like the NBA, where you're literally just fading ownerships, because this is a very projectable sport. So I don't think it's to the point right now where you have to just start taking darts and shots on underdogs. There is a lot of ways to create less duplicated lineups. and more unique lineups if you're entering a lot of them. It's going to get to the point in 2 months, like the NBA, where you just can't play the top players. You just can't play the top stacks because every single person is going to play them in whatever combination you get. I do not think it's there yet, especially since the prize or the contests have quadrupled in size. I mean, there was an 18,000 contest yesterday that was like 6x these previous biggest contests that were in here a week ago. This is basically MLB. I disagree with that. I think it's MLB from a stacking perspective, but MLB, you don't have to worry about your team winning. This is MLB from the perspective of stacking, but in terms of what you factor the most is wins. Like if your teams aren't winning, you're just not going to do anything. So it's very MMA infused as well. You need to win in the MMA to obviously get huge bonuses, things like that. So MLB from a stacking standpoint, but I think it connects a little bit closer with MMA in terms of how heavily wins are just factored into this. MLB plus MMA, yeah, I would agree with that in terms of just lineup construction plus what's actually weighted heavily. So, yeah, in terms of mid laners, and I guess to close the point on that, right now playing optimally will win you a lot of money, without question. I mean, if I'm looking at 21% average returns for a week, yes, a week is a small sample, but it's also not one day. It's a pretty decent-sized sample. 21% average returns would be the best week of DFS that I've ever had if you factor out like my biggest hits that are just obviously going to skew it. I can have a huge $16,000 hit and then for the next 6 days do nothing, and I'll still have a pretty decent average return on my whatever initial investment, right? But in terms of average, 21% per day is fantastic. It's unheard of, and that's because there's an optimal way to play this that will be solved if this is the only thing we have for the next 2 to 3 months, and then it'll start to suck, and you have to start to take some ownership stabs, or you just play it and duplicate it and split a bunch of money. But for right now, I think you can play very optimal. You don't have to get cute because you understand how to play. In a 18,000 person field, there is probably, I don't know, at least 10,000, more than half, that are not playing optimally. Can occasionally stack games just like fights, but rare. Yeah. So in terms of the mid laners, I think you can get a little bit different here with the mid laners because there's a lot of opportunity because of the price points. So if this was a spot where you wanted to take a stab on one of these slighter underdogs, I guess you can say like Ford is a plus 164 underdog. Ford is going to produce a lot of points as a mid laner, 6,600, just returned, I believe, 2 games ago for VG. So, I mean, I have Forge projected out as like my 5th highest scoring mid laner, but factoring in the price of 6,600, he's priced next to players who aren't even starting today, things like that. So I think that if you were to try and take that stab, that looks okay, but probably also not a spot that I go to too much. The bigger favorites obviously are going to be standing out, whether it's Rookie, Scout up top, and Knight and Rookie, based on their price points, obviously stand out pretty well there. 2 biggest favorites on the slate. Obviously, tons of things to say that are great about them. You're going to get the fine kills. You're going to get a ton of assists as well, and then Knight 81% kill participation is just nuts. Support players, there's a couple of players when it comes to support that are just head and shoulders above the rest, and Southwind in all these leagues that we've seen so far is without question one of them. Just fantastic. I mean, you're getting a ton of wins, 80% win rate over that now, but that's without question because of how good the team is. Another huge favorite today, but just produces in so many ways. Like, you're getting over 11 assists per contest, and you're getting the favorite there. So Southwind is very similar at 5,800. I've played Southwind in the captain spots a good amount over the past week when they're on the slate as favorites, which has been every single time. Southwind is the Shy, same exact team. They're both cheaper. Southwind being only 5,800. I think these are very strong captain options in GPPs. They allow you to fit everything else that you want to in there. I think they're fantastic. So the players who are in red, once again, if you're just joining, they are not players who are not going to end up starting. What is League of Legends? What's going on, Plex? League of Legends is just a computer game. There's leagues for esports. These kids are making as a base salary like 60 to 70,000, not even counting their endorsements. And if they win, and they're probably I don't know their age. They're probably like 15 or 16. It's wild. But they might even be younger than that. But it's the number one thing in DFS right now. I know there's a ton of simulation stuff going on. A lot of it is going to end up just remaining free because obviously they're simulating games, so they can kind of not predict the outcomes, but they know the games that are probably going to be in that simulator. So it's not great when they know the outcomes to an extent, if not all the way. So they're not going to be able to put money on the line. At least I don't think so. Otherwise it starts to get sketchy for these sites. So any of these simulation stuff that comes out, you're going to be playing free rolls, which is fine because it's free to enter and you can maybe win $500, $1,000, whatever the sites are putting out to first place. So that's great. But in terms of trying to hit a 4 to 5 to 6 figure prize pool potentially one day. Yeah, League of Legends is the spot right now, and my God, is it a profitable endeavor, and will probably end in like a few weeks once all the pros get in and realize that it's not just a stupid video game, which it probably is in real life, but there's a ton of money to be made in an area where a lot of prize pools are coming in, a lot of casuals, and there's a optimal way to play, and not everybody's caught on just yet. Is IG and ES going to be close considering they're both top of the standings? So for me, no. I mean, just factoring in Vegas minus 345, factoring in just strength of schedule, which is something that I have built into the projections. For me, I mean, it could go the 3 rounds, which would be great. I'd rather go the 3 rounds than the 2, honestly, just based on all the scoring potential from assists and kills and kill participation that all these players on IG have. So, yeah, I mean, that's a stance in GPPs that you can definitely take. Like, look, if you're playing $10 tonight and you really want a shot at the upside, yeah, I mean, fading IG is probably going to give you a lot more of a unique lineup without a doubt. They're going to be the highest owned probably in most of these contests. They will be the highest owned, if not the most owned at every single position potentially as well. So, yeah, I'm not going to be doing that. At least not right now. That's something that, again, in like a few weeks might actually start to become a little bit more optimal, but it doesn't seem optimal right now to me. You can literally play, and I'm not going to be going out there. And on a 3-game slate, it's easier to just play the 2 highest favorite teams because there's not a lot to choose from. There's only 3 favorites. But like on these 5-game slates, definitely avoiding just the 2 biggest favorites is a strong thing to do, and probably a good thing to do, just in terms of dupes. And obviously the other teams have just as much upside as favorites and less ownership. 11x my money on my first tourney today. These games are insanely soft. Exactly. So exactly what Kyle said. Like, these games are very soft. Again, it's a 1-game sample for just the stuff that happens today, but they're very soft. They are. And that's going to change. It's going to change as more and more content comes out, whether it's myself, whether it's the awesome old guys. But you have to also factor in this. We are in an economic, or I guess it's going to be economic, but we'll say financial straining place for a lot of people right now. So people who usually produce content can't right now, right? Whether it means that this was their part-time thing and they just can't. They have to focus on other things right now. So whether it means that they were paying a ton of employees to make content for them and now they can't. So there's just not going to be content or a lot of it over the next 1 to 2 to 3 months. So I do think that provides a lot of upside. Obviously, I want more people to view my content, but if that's the case, then it's going to make these contests a little bit tougher. But I do think that you're going to see weeks of very soft contests in terms of people not playing optimal, you playing optimal. If you were to enter 150 lineups and set up your stacks and rules properly, and I mean, it takes some time to learn all that stuff, but if you were to do all that, put your randomness in, and you played for a week straight, you would have multiple sweats if you played every one of these slates. And what I mean by sweats is you would be in the running for 50,000 to the 20,000 prize pools. I've chopped second already once. I've chopped the top 5 prizes 3 times total in a week. And I'm not somebody who won 50 maxes often. I won 50 max WNBA. I won 50 max the XFL. Occasionally, I'll do it in the NBA if there's something like the Bucks that happened, and not a lot of people can take advantage of it because they're sleeping and they can't change their lineups. When all the Bucks a couple weeks ago just sat all their players last second that were like 30% owned, 50% owned in contests. Thanks everybody. I appreciate. And is Addy for sure starting? Yes, all the starting lineups for the China League are out. Every single thing that you see here in my and on the projections Plex on Patreon. Appreciate again you joining over there. Everything on there is these starting lineups. They announced their starters a few hours ago. What's going to be next on DK? Cup stacking tournaments. Probably MTV The Challenge, which is about a week away. But also probably some sort, just more simulations. I mean, they're going to try and keep finding leagues. The AFL, the Football League, the Aussie Football League is now gone. That's suspended. The Australian Soccer League, I believe, like, games are getting canceled left and right because the states or the countries are shutting down or whatever it might be. So that's probably going to be gone in a second. So yeah, not much outside of League of Legends. Maybe I hope they get more like League of Legends type games. Like I don't want to bet on somebody playing Madden. That's really not going to help me that much. I'm sure there's databases out there so that maybe we can cover it. But seeing some other games out there, first person shooters, things like that I would actually maybe not enjoy watching, but be able to watch compared to League of Legends because, I mean, teach their own. They're making a ton of money, but cannot watch that stuff personally. Sal, have you done well with top jungler or team in the captain spots? Top, yes. Jungler, I have not been putting in the captain spots just because they're usually just as expensive a lot of the times as the mid laners and AD carries. So tops, yes, they're viable there. Junglers are viable. I'm just not putting them in there a lot. The team in the captain spot I have ran only one time. It was Cloud9 yesterday. I had 4% of them in the captain spot. I'm just not going to do it. I can't believe this is what DFS come to. Thanks to Sal, though, for keeping the content going. Yeah, look, it's better than nothing. Like, everybody keeps saying, like, I can't believe that League of Legends, this and this. There's $50,000 to first yesterday. Like, what else has to be said? There's $50,000 to first in a projectable sport with clear stacking rules and correlation. I mean, yes, it's the disappeal that it's League of Legends and people playing video games and kids playing video games, right? That is the disappeal of it, and whatever the hell League of Legends is, computer game. That I know the objectives, I know how it's played, I know all that. I don't know actually what to call it outside of a computer video game. It's not a first-person shooter or anything like that. It's a CPU game, so it's just people are, one, financially stressed, emotionally stressed right now, not wanting to produce content, and two, they're just completely disinterested when pretty much any player that plays MLB, that is very good at MLB, DFS, any player that is very good at NFL DFS, stacking, correlating, even if you're just a pro in general, NBA, you would be raking right now. You would make it a lot harder for everybody else to do good, but you'd be raking right now. And I'm sure that that's what Brick's doing. I'm sure that's what Awesomo's doing right now. Just based on my last week, I'm sure that they're cleaning house right now. Is WEI a solid play for cash games? So for me, that's going to be a no. It's probably going to be a no for me. Karsa was hot last game. Karsa for me is, yeah, looks fine today. Looks fine today. Biggest favorite jungler. 7,400 is going to be a little bit of an issue. Probably going to have to get there as a one-off or a stack. Pretty much the only way you can get there, I guess you can say. But I'm trying to say like a 4-man stack. You either go with the huge favorite, or if you just have enough money left over there. Usually that's just not the spot that I spend the most money, though, in terms of when I'm making jungler lineups. But I mean, if I'm 150 maxing or 70 or whatever the limit is for that specific day, yeah, gonna have a good amount. What are your two favorite teams to stack tonight? I mean, Invictus Gaming looks really strong. I mean, the two biggest favorites are going to look strong. They're going to be highly owned. So, I mean, I'm fine to get to the three favorites are where I'm going to be going. I'm probably going to have a little bit of VG, VC Gaming. I'm probably going to have a little bit of them. They're a plus 164 underdog the last time I looked. We can actually pull it up right now and update it. This is the Vegas odds. They're now at plus 146, so this has changed. So now they're becoming even closer. So the line's moving positively for Vici Gaming, which is good. Bigger favorites coming for right now. You're getting bigger favorites. Same line for Invictus Gaming. Bigger favorite right now for Top Esports. But Vici Gaming is looking pretty good. So I'm going to end up having Vici Gaming. Again, I haven't built my exposures yet. I do have contests reserved, but we literally have like 7 hours to do this. So the teams that I'm going to be stacking are Top Esports, Invictus Gaming, Edward Gaming, and VC Gaming. I'm not stacking any of the VC Gaming or Vici, whatever it might be, with Edward Gaming or ED Ward. I'm not going to end up going with those in the same one because they're playing each other. You're literally shooting yourself in the foot with that. But those are the 4 teams that I'll probably have in exposures. Probably don't get to E-Star. Probably don't get to Dominus Sports, at least today. E-Star is interesting because of how good they've been. 67% win rate is the second best on the slate. The 2 highest win rates are going off, like somebody mentioned, or playing each other tonight, like somebody mentioned earlier on. So you do get just in terms of average time played, you probably will get a pretty long match today between Invictus Gaming and E-Star. So even if E-Star loses, there's potentially the upside for some of their players if it goes the full 3 rounds, which I would expect it to as of right now. There's potentially some of the upside to not stack a losing team, but potentially take their support player or their top laner and hope that it works out. The mid laner usually in the losing team is the one that will score the most for you. So they're just in the middle of the map, the most action. So in terms of E-Star, potentially if you wanted to get a little bit different there, you could look into going to Cryon, something of that nature. Would you spend more money on a support or a jungler? Naturally, the supports are going to be cheaper. So you're going to spend more money on a jungler. The supports are going to be like $1,000 cheaper than all the junglers. I'm primarily a single entry and 3-max player. Do you think those contests are the way to go, or is it better to focus on cash? I'm not playing any cash in this. The payout structures suck if you're playing like one lineup into the big ones right now because they're trying to get people interested by big prize pools. So I'm playing like every single thing in the GPP lobbies and recently been trying to max them out. But I'm not playing cash. It's very similar to MLB for me. It's so correlating based, and you can play cash because like there's no doubt in my mind that it's viable to play cash. I'm just not interested in it right now. I'd rather spend all my time trying to grind GPPs while it's still optimal and very soft contests. But you can play cash. I personally prefer the GPPs in this because there's a clear way to play. Enough players are not yet playing that way, and there are huge upside prizes. Whereas if the players in cash that I'm not playing are not playing optimal, big whoop, I just made $4 back on my $5 head-to-head. Somebody says GPP core. Yeah, but I don't got no cores for you, bud. What do you mainly focus on when stacking players? Just correlation. ownership. We don't have ownership projections anywhere, but trying to factor ownership as best as I can. Obviously, you want to stack winning teams, so stacking winning teams is number one. AD carry does correlate with the support player, so that's fine to look at. We did have a team. We had a four-man stack where there was a captain, and the same team that had the captain in the the player in the captain spot, they also rostered that team's team. That's not going to happen often. That was like an outlier. So although that's a recent win, people might look to that. I'm not thinking much of it right now. So if I'm four-man stacking, I'm not going to have the team in there. I'm just not right now. That's how I'm having it set. I'm not going to have the team in the captain spot. I tried it out for like a couple lineups, 4% of my lineups yesterday on Cloud9. It wasn't terrible. Like they scored a decent amount, but it's just there's not as much upside there. DFS fiending is real. I'm now finding this out because I'm feeling it. Yeah, I mean, I haven't stopped playing DFS, and I mean, to be quite honest, in terms of NBA DFS, my last week of NBA DFS compared to my first week of this, and it should be pretty obvious when NBA DFS is a solved cash game and as solved of a GPP game as you can get outside of ownership. Yeah, I've much more enjoyed the League of Legends DFS than the NBA DFS. Yes, I would much rather watch an NBA game and I won't watch anything in League of Legends wise. I tried, it's just not worth my time. But yeah, the DFS side of it, much prefer this right now. Were you playing League of Legends DFS before COVID-19? No, not at all. I started playing the League of Legends DFS pretty much I looked into it a few hours after Rudy Gobert had coronavirus because they shut down the league, and they were obviously going to shut down pretty much everything else. Shocked that some other leagues stayed open for a weekend. Yeah. How do correlations work on League of Legends? Team stacks. You want to stack winning teams. That's the biggest thing. Stacking winning teams and going from there. It's all about stacking. It's very similar to MLB in terms of stacking. Very similar in terms of MMA in the way that you need to have the win. Like if you stack a team and they lose, you're not winning a damn thing. The difference in scoring between winning teams and losing teams, and it's good to look at a player's points in wins and kills in wins and things like that because it gives you a truer story as to when they're a favorite, what their upside actually is. Again, that's all factored into my projections on Patreon. If you're interested, I'll self-plug during the pandemic. If you're interested, but you are able, I do not want you to buy projections or anything to Patreon right now if you are not able or you're uncertain about your financial future or short-term future right now. Do not go in there. I don't want people financially strained based on my content. If you are in a good spot, you can go ahead and check them out. Patreon has the projections up for the slate and every single League of Legends slate. It is actually so entertaining to watch League of Legends matches. I heard it. I heard that's the case. Alex Baker said the same thing. Just like personally where my time is right now, I like normally work 80 hours a week. This really hasn't changed how much I'm working. I'm just substituting in League of Legends for like NBA, so it's not changing much. If anything, I don't have to be glued to my computer at 6 p.m. when inactives come out for NBA, so I actually like it more. But I run a media company and have other clients and things like that, so just normal work. So I just don't have the time to make time to watch League of Legends matches. Might have to start playing League of Legends. Yeah, you should. The longer you wait to get into it, the more you're not going to have success. The more people that come in later on, like the early movers are always going to be the ones that benefit the most. And then it's a matter of just staying ahead of people in terms of trends and in terms of how people are playing and adjusting to that. But right now is the early movers stage, and it's been a week of prosperity, you can say, to say the least. What is the best position to fill as your 1 or your 3-3-1 builds? I'm not making 3-3-1 builds personally. Only 4-3 and 4-2-1s for me. So I'm not making 3-3-1 builds. I don't think so. Here's the thing: you can win with a 3-3-1 build. From what I've looked at, you will win way more often and have a lot more upside from a 4-3 and a 4-2-1 stack. So if I know that getting an extra lineup in there with a 4-2-1 or a 4-3 stack will give me a better chance to win as opposed to a 3-3-1, why would I ever put a single 3-3-1 currently into my lineup when the contests and the ownership is not as much of a concern for me right now? I mean, the actual game, not DFS. No, never played League of Legends. I had no idea how the game even worked until a week ago. But when you focus on something when you work 100 hours a week and then you focus on something and add in more time and focus on something 20 hours and 30 hours a day, literally League of Legends for 20 to 30 hours a day, the first 3 or 4 days I looked into it and studied on just a ton of different sites, lineup rewind tools, fantasy labs, looking back at slates, obviously learning about the game itself and playing it a couple of slates. Yeah. It's as straightforward as a game as it gets in terms of DFS. FanDuel seems softer than DK. I think 90% of my lines have cash. Yeah, that would make sense because FanDuel just started League of Legends 2 days ago, so they have a little bit of different scoring. You have to roster 3 teams. So people who are coming over to FanDuel everybody's brand new over there. So it obviously takes the people who are real critical and obviously quicker problem solvers to figure out those projections and how lineups are optimal. So FanDuel is going to be as soft as it gets right now. Favorite captain picks for tonight's slate? I don't know. I haven't built a single lineup yet. I have the projections ready. I have high projected players per positions, but in terms of favorite captains, I'm not going to build a lineup. Probably I'll start running crunches at like 9. Is it just LEC and LPL during the week or just LPL? Pretty much just LPL. It's going to be for the next couple of days. Then LEC comes back towards the later end of the week, and then on the weekends you'll get some of the American stuff. But I looked up the schedule earlier, so let's look at this. League of Legends schedule. It's a pretty cool schedule that you can just select things, but it's just LPL tomorrow. It's just LPL on Tuesday, just a 2-game slate. Wednesday is just LPL as well. And then, Thursday is also just LPL. Okay, so the weekend is, Fridays when you start to get the LEC, and then on the weekends you'll get the LEC and the LCS. This is a huge, all 3 on Saturday. So LPL is all during the week, which is actually nice. And then this is next Sunday. It's all of them. So the American League, the LCS Championship Series is going to be just on the weekend right now. And then they'll end up playing in the summer as well. But you get the playoffs starting again Saturday 4th. This is all to be dated because I believe it is a best of 5 series. So we get League of Legends playoffs pretty soon. So or tournaments. That's pretty exciting stuff. And then you get the Summer League, which pretty much starts up right after. So, yes, we will have League of Legends until the sports return, as long as the sports return in June, as they're currently slated to. Any luck on the Super Draft Sims? Yeah, winning $1 here or there. More like $3, $4 sometimes, but not. I mean, I'll put in the 4 or 5 lineups on Super Draft. Not too heavily concerned with it when there is many multiples of numbers to be won somewhere else. What up, Sal? The number of people that stacked the 100 tonight as such a big underdog boggles my mind. The 100 Thieves? Yeah, their line movement looked okay. It's just if you look at the entire amount of people that actually did it compared to the amount of people that were actually playing, like you probably saw a good amount that were doing it. There wasn't that much. Like a lot of people, numbers wise, percentage wise, not a lot. If that makes sense. Whew. These are the teams themselves and just some of the data that I have on them. Let's pull this up. Probably update some of these lines. So this Vegas stuff is outdated for right now. Let's grab the most updated stuff, which is this. Damn, these teams become bigger favorites up here. They stayed the same. They went down. So bad line movement for Edward Gaming, but you're getting good line movement on the other side of that for Vici Gaming. So they keep becoming in even closer. They just went from plus 146 to plus 139. So if you're looking for an underdog on this 3-game slate, I'm not sure I really like any of them, but obviously Vici Gaming's line movement, it looks really good. I'm going to have stacks of Vici Gaming, without a doubt, especially given the line movement. I was probably going to have some anyways, just to get a little bit different on a smaller slate, because if you do hit on the right underdog, it goes a lot further than on a 5-game slate if you hit on the right underdog. But yeah, these lines, like this one right here for Vici Gaming, they opened up as like a plus 160, plus 170. They're to plus 139. Like that's some pretty important line movement. Instead of Edward Gaming being a minus 217 or a minus 220 favorite, they're now down to minus 182. That's a pretty decent amount. I went from winning 300 plus to 120 after the game. I was in the top 5 or 10 at all 20s after that. But a profit is a profit. Thanks for all you do to us loyal patrons. Ed, my man, what's going on, man? Nice. So, yeah, it's one of those nights where you profited. You win $120 instead of the 300 and you feel bad. But if it was the other way around and last second you went from out of the cash line to winning 120, it feels great, right? It's all about anchoring. But just like you said, profit's profit, man. Do you project what games will go to the 3rd game and maybe put it on Patreon? It's all built into projections. So all the Vegas odds of it potentially going into a 3rd game, it being a 2-0 sweep, it's all built into projections already. Any median projection that you look at, just like the NBA, is going to project for a median outcome. There's huge differences in terms of GPP upside that go into that, and that takes into account playing underdogs. Like underdogs will never median project for you as an optimal play. When it comes to playing underdogs, you have to take a stance on them, like any other sport. Your underdogs, like they're not expected to do good. So when they're built into your Vegas odds, it's going to pull down their projection. You obviously, if you want to take a stance, have to go against that projection, which would be exactly what everybody else is not doing, which is why it makes it a little bit more optimal. But yeah, I plan on going for about a half hour. So it's been a half hour right now. So if anybody has any more questions, let me know. Again, if you're watching this right now live or on the replay, link down below in the description. There's some free strategy guides. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at @SalvageYourDFS. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. We're getting closer to like 250 subscribers away from 20,000, and that's a pretty cool number. That'd be awesome to hit. So if you can hit the subscribe button, that helps out. And then Patreon is linked up down below if you are currently in a position financially to be doing that. Do not financially strain yourself for some League of Legends projections. That is ridiculous. Who do you like from VC Gaming? Who do I like from VC Gaming? Yeah, so, I mean, medium projection-wise, once again, like if you're looking, I mean, Forge looks strong. You have to look at this from a standpoint of if the team was to win, what do they do in wins? Forge is going to be one of the best players as a mid, right, a mid laner. One of the best players for VC Gaming, if not the best. Usually your AD carry will be your best player. In this situation, that would end up being iBoy. So iBoy, Forge. Forge would probably be my favorite, factoring in price at $6,600. iBoy is $7,000. So yeah, Forge I would really like if VC Gaming ended up pulling up an upset. But all these players end up scoring a lot more just naturally in terms of situations where their team wins. The ones that I would like the most would be Forge and iBoy. That probably goes without saying. Outside of that, I mean, you could throw in an AX, you can throw in Cube, any of these top laners and supports, but I'd probably go elsewhere. Ever worth playing a support at captain to make more money? Yeah, I think it's a fantastic strategy. People might try and tell you, oh, AD carry only and mid laner only in the captain spot. I believe 5 out of the last 6 slates have been won by a top laner or a support. Small sample, of course, but yeah, if this was, and I was looking back, if this was a year ago, the AD carries were cheaper. They're not cheaper anymore. They make you have a much worse lineup if you're playing an $8,400 player in your captain spot. Tonight, there's not a ton of really expensive players in terms of 8,000 plus. It's really just Puff, who obviously looks fantastic, averaging 97.5 fantasy points per game. But you're going to put a $12,000 player in your captain spot. Good luck having a really optimal build. You need a lot of things to go your way. I think you could put an AD carry in your captain spot if you're taking on the risk of putting in an underdog in the rest of your stack, in terms of on the 2-man or the 3-man stack, because that's the only way you're going to be able to fit in anything, honestly. You can answer on Patreon if you want, but what do you think about the Shy as a captain? Yeah, I've ran Shy as a captain before. I think it's fine. I think the Shy as the captain is fine. I've ran the Shy, I've ran Southwind, who's a support player. I've ran them as captain players before. They're high scoring for their positions. Southwind and the Shy, they end up scoring points at a clip of the likes of mid laners, junglers, and sometimes even AD carries by how many points that they score, and they are just priced nowhere near it. How do you play this? So lost. Yeah, it's going to be tough to explain right now, but I'm sure there's a lot of content out there that explains how to play it. I have a podcast on Patreon from a week ago on how to play it, but it's not going to be something, hopefully you understand, that I can explain right now. It would take a good amount of time. Pretty much stack winning teams, and there's optimal ways to do that, but a little bit difficult. Rat Dog Mom subscribed with a Twitch Prime. Thank you. I appreciate that. I don't think we've had a Twitch subscriber because obviously this is very YouTube heavy in terms of the search algorithms for this stuff, but appreciate that. It's been a couple of days since we've had a couple of weeks since we had a Twitch Prime. Also not streaming as much, but thank you. I do appreciate that. Sal, is there anywhere to watch these NBA simulations? Yeah, right now I believe on Twitch, SuperDraft DFS has theirs, and then for FanDuel, Awesemo has theirs as well. So be sure to check that out. Also be sure to check out Awesemo's their bracket challenge. It starts up, I believe, tomorrow night at 8 p.m. But getting that, it's free to enter, and there's $10,000 to first, and it's just video game simulating. So, in my opinion, just pick a ton of underdogs, because a lot of people are going to say, oh, the 95, 96 Bulls are the 1 seed. They're gonna win a ton. It's a video game simulating. Obviously, there's ratings in there to make Michael Jordan be good, but it is a video game simulating. All right, everybody, I'm going to bounce. If you're watching the replay, be sure to hit the subscribe button. If you're watching right now, be sure to hit the subscribe button. I greatly appreciate that. I'll have more League of Legends content, especially throughout the entire week for the LPL slates. I'll have some other content going out from a DFS strategy standpoint. Some fantasy football stuff for season-long type stuff is going to be coming out as well. Some strategy as well as just analyzing some things will be coming out as well. So hit that subscribe button. If you want to support me over on Patreon, whether it be getting one of the tiers or packages, or there's an option to just donate and support the creator here, I do appreciate that. If you're in a position to do so, make sure to follow me over on Twitter. Free strategy guides linked down below in the description. Lots of other stuff you can check out down there as well. See you, Bub. See you, Dev. See you, everybody. Okay, peace out, gang.